Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Crafternoons, and my name is Miss Claudia, and I work at the New Carrollton branch. And today we're going to be doing some painting. So the first painting we're going to be doing is a blow painting, and we're going to list some of the materials. So we're going to be using a mechanical pencil, a black acrylic paint marker, a paintbrush, and the colors we're using are going to be watercolor activated, a straw, and since we need water, we're going to be keeping this glass of water nearby. Okay, so we're going to start by outlining some eyes. We're going to make two little monster buddies today. We're going to start by outlining the eyes. We make two big circles and two little circles for the pupil. A little bean shape for the mouth. Make some jaggedy teeth and a tongue, and we're just going to give him or her or they some arms. And some eyebrows. We're gonna make them a buddy, and we're gonna do the same. We're gonna make two large circles, and then we're gonna make two smaller circles for the pupils. Do another little bean shape for the mouth. Give them some jaggedy teeth since they're monsters, and let's give them two little teeth on the bottom and a tongue. Give them an arm. Another arm, any way you want, and some eyebrows. Alright, so now we're going to move on to outlining or drawing. We're going to be using the acrylic marker. We're just going to start outlining our eyes. It should be made easier since we did our drawing first in pencil. Okay, and what outlining this with the acrylic paint marker is going to do is help us when we are using our watercolors, since it's resistant to watercolor. The other arm, and now we're going to outline our other buddy. And you can decide to paint the monstrous colors another eye. I just decided to fill in the pupils with black. Don't forget the eyebrows. Almost done outlining. We have one arm, and here we have our second arm, and we're done. Okay, so now we're gonna close that, and we're gonna grab our paintbrush, dip it in some water, make sure it's completely submerged and very wet, since these are watercolor activated paints. And I think I want to start with the color yellow. We're going to make sure that's wet, and then we're going to start placing the color onto the paper in any way that you want. Make sure that you have a lot of water on your paints, because that's how they activate. And I'm adding a little bit of orange to the top right here. And the more water you have, the better, because since we're going to be using straws, we need to be able to have enough water to maneuver. Okay, so this straw isn't working too well for me, but I have a backup straw that I'm going to be using. And then you just blow. See, it kind of looks like crazy monster hair. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and dip our brush in some more water and gather more paint. Use a deeper orange or a darker orange. Make some placements at the bottom. So you can see it's starting to look like he has a body. You dab that paint on there any way you want. It could be little puddles or little drops of water with paint. There's no wrong method to this. Okay, and we have our straw again, and we're just gonna start blowing. And to blow the paint I put at the bottom, I'm just gonna turn our paper around and start blowing on this side. So I'm gonna go in, add some more water. Doesn't matter in which direction you decide to make your designs in, as long as you're happy with the result. I think I want to add a little bit of red to our monster buddy just to make it a little bit more interesting. And you can see how easily these colors are activated by water. You really don't have to do much. And just have fun with it, because that's the most important part. So I'm happy with how the bottom looks, but I think the top part looks a little bit empty. So I'm gonna go back with a brush, add some red and some more water. Oh, and this can get messy, not too much, but it can get messy, so remember to lay down either newspapers or paper towels underneath your drawing pad or your canvas, whichever medium you're working with right now, because you can continue to blow on the paint and until it's off the page, because that can happen. So just to avoid little messes. Alright, so I'm liking how our buddy's looking. I'm just gonna clean up our brush. And we're gonna dip into a new color. And I think we're gonna make our second monster buddy blue. darker tones of blue, but always using lots of water. A little bit of darker blue to make it a little bit more interesting, visually appealing. And you can place the drops of water on your paper any way you want. Our straw, we're gonna start working on blowing and see how the drops of water get off the paper just a little bit, but we have our paper towels in place to protect our table. We're gonna turn our paper around and we're gonna start working on the bottom piece. Okay, so we're gonna dip our brush in some more water and start placing the paint on our paper. Like having a balance of warm colors and cool colors. So I'm really liking our painting so far. I'm just painting some darker blue to contrast a little with that lighter blue. And I think I want to use a little bit of green. But whatever colors you decide to choose is fine. Just be creative and have fun. I think that's the most important part. Okay, and now we're gonna start using our straw again. I really like how the blues are going over the greens. And it doesn't matter if your paint gets off the paper, as long as you have paper towels or newspapers underneath to catch it, it'll be fine. It'll be an easy cleanup. Okay, so we're gonna turn this around and take a good look at it. So we have our two little monster buddies, and it looks pretty complete. I think there was one thing I forgot to list at the beginning. We are going to use a smaller paintbrush to add some detail to our monster buddies. So I just took a smaller paintbrush, dipped it in water, and we're going to paint their tongues. I'm painting them red. But if you wanted purple tongues or orange tongues, that's fine. I'm just gonna go with red. And to add a little bit of more detail, I have this gray marker, and we're gonna add a little bit of shadow. So I'm gonna place the shadow on their arms, right down here. And over here on our other monster buddy's arm right there. And I think their eyes. If you want to wait for your paint to be a little bit drier to do these details, that's fine too. Oh, the spaces in their mouth, right behind the tongue. I'm going to make that gray as well. Okay. So we have our monster buddies. You can make any stories that you want about them. You can give them to a friend. I'm really happy with this. And we're going to move on to our second painting. Alright, so our next painting is going to involve making a stencil. So I took this piece of cardboard. I had an empty cereal box, so I just cut off one of the sides. And first I'm going to take the canvas I'm going to be using and measure it. Make sure that the piece that we're going to make into a stencil fits inside. And we are going to be making a shape today. We're going to be making a heart. You can lightly trace until you find the shape of the heart that you want. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be something that you like. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with this shape. I like this heart, and I'm going to be using scissors now to cut out the shape. So remember to be careful when you're handling scissors. If it's too much for you to do, you can ask a grown-up to help you. And just cut along the lines that you drew. I'm not the best cutter, so I would say it's okay for your shape not to be perfect. Alright, so we have our stencil, but we're gonna put that away for now because we're not gonna use it just yet. Okay, so remember when I talked about preparing our area to avoid any big messes? So I'm just laying down some paper towels before we put our canvas down in place. Okay, so we have our canvas. And we're going to be using, for this project, some acrylic paint. Any square paintbrushes that you have, and remember to keep around a glass of clean water to be able to dip your brushes and clean them in between colors. And what we're gonna do is very simple actually. So I've laid down some red. Here, and I like putting down my colors, acrylic colors on cardboard, and we're just gonna do tiny strokes anywhere you want on the canvas. So I'm doing these randomly, spacing them out in a way that I think is attractive. We're not going to fill the entire canvas with just one color. We're going to be using multiple colors today. next color is yellow. And we're just gonna go in between the spaces where there's red and fill them up with yellow. And if it overlaps, that's fine. And remember, we're not doing any specific technique with the brush strokes, just little tiny brush strokes. And for now, I'm happy with the amount of yellow on the canvas. I'm gonna switch over to another color. And we're gonna start using some pink. And we're dabbing just little tiny brush strokes here and there. Okay, so I like how it's looking so far, but I think I might need a little bit more pink in some areas. So I'm just gonna really take a look and see where I want to place my little pink brush stroke. Okay, so I think I'm gonna switch colors now, and we're gonna be using a light blue. And just doing little brush strokes, filling up the white areas. And these brush strokes can be as small or as big as you want, and it doesn't matter if they overlap. And we're just going to continue to fill in the white spots and pick the areas that have not as much blue. Start dipping into green. And find the spaces, the white spaces in between that we can place our green and do little tiny brush strokes. I realize that now we have a little less space, but that doesn't matter because we're just going to continue to place them in the white areas. And if it overlaps, that's fine. No problem there. There is no wrong placement here. It's really whatever looks good to you. Just feel free to use your creativity with this. So I'm gonna clean my brush and we're gonna dip into a new color. I have a dark purple that I'm gonna use. And we're just gonna find the white spaces that we can do tiny little brush strokes. Think that the painting looks very busy and there's not going to be any space, but if you look hard enough, you'll always find a space. You just dab that, or you just do a brush stroke. as creative as you want with this, especially with the choice of colors. So we're almost done with this part of the painting, and I'm just taking a last look at it, and I think it could still use some purple. There are still some areas that can be filled with color, and I'm just dabbing again. So we pretty much have used a lot of colors. We use red, yellow, pink, blue, green, and a dark purple. But I kind of want a little bit of orange in here. So I don't have orange in acrylic color. So what I'm going to do is just mix a little bit of the yellow with a little bit of red to get orange. Just a little bit here and there, since it looks like our canvas is pretty much full up. Just here and there. We're about done with the orange. Just gonna make sure we clean that. And now let's take a look at our canvas. It's still pretty wet, so we're gonna have to put this down just for a little bit and wait for it to completely dry to move on to the second part of our painting. So we're gonna set that down for now, and we're gonna get our stencil ready. For this part of the project, we're going to be using masking tape or duct tape, and this is the stencil that we made. Just going to rip just a little tiny bit off, fold that back onto itself, and put it on the back of our stencil. Okay, so this is going to help keep our stencil in place. And before you start with the next part, just make sure the placement is one that you're happy with. If not, you can just take it off and place it again. So we're going to be using black acrylic paint. And we're going to be using a paintbrush. And we're just going to dab a little bit of black onto the paintbrush, and we're just going to start dabbing along the edges of our stencil. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can keep on dabbing all along the edge. So we're just going to keep on dabbing along the edge of all of the stencil until the heart is complete. So we're just going to move forward just a little bit. So as you can see, we've dabbed black paint along the edge of all of our stencil, and I've also gone ahead and dabbed black paint all around the edges of our canvas. Since I didn't catch that part on camera, I'm just going to show you guys how I did it. So it's the same technique. You're just going to dab lightly. You don't have to dip your brush into too much paint. You can just use what you have, and if there are edges that you want to be a little bit darker, just go ahead and dip that again and just blend and dab all across the edges. Well, I hope you had fun making these paintings with me today, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!